Welcome to this week's Endurance for Everyone podcast.
The following program is for entertainment purposes only. Though the hosts of this show are certified Ironman coaches, their attempts at long-course triathlons and endurance events should not be taken as an endorsement for you to do something stupid too. You should make your own bad decisions, then podcast about it. Now, let's start the show.
Hey, this is John Harris.
And this is Rob Bozovich.
And Endurance is for Everyone, and this is the Endurance for Everyone podcast. How's it going up there, Rob?
Lovely, lovely weather. Sarcasm heavily laden in the comment. How's it down your way, John?
It was well, God, it rained like hell last night, though. But after the race, it's kind of a nice little overcast day for the run, and started raining at about 5 o'clock. But it was a deluge until about 11 or so. So
deluge. So we went away from concept of the week to word of the week. Nicely done, sir.
Deluge. Well, I feel it's my place to educate. Right?
Depends.
Not in English.
If you feel it's your place, John, then we'll go with it.
It's my show. I will educate.
It's your show. I just come along for the ride, John.
That's right. Okay.
So what do you want to get into first and go over?
Well, at first we have to say it was a marvelous day last night. The Patriots lost.
Did they?
Always a good day.
I didn't stay up for that, so it seemed like it was going that way.
That was such a good game. It was a really good Super Bowl for a change.
We'll talk about my training in a little bit, but I was just so tired yesterday, and it's best. I might have made it till 9 o'clock last night, and I was out.
Really?
So, it was. Yeah, I've been under the weather. I had a long couple of training days and so forth, and it was good. Good game from what I had seen of it, and just a lot you can fill in the blanks for everyone.
Most people have seen it, but it's nice to see a Super Bowl that where they're really good, evenly matched teams. I don't think people gave the Eagles a lot of chance and a lot of credit, and I'm glad to see that they stepped up and gave it to them.
Yeah.
It's always nice to see a good game. I hate, I don't know if, I'm a football fan from way back, and there was like in the 80s, there was just like this slew of blowouts, 55-10 and things like that. So it's good to see. Well, but you know what? The Patriots have won a lot of Super Bowls, 5 Super Bowls, but every one of their wins have been 3 points or less, right? Mm-hmm. So of course it's a good game, right?
Yeah.
But they always, if either they come back and win it or they lose by a smidge, and they were in it right until the end again. They had everything against them, and it went right down to the end. So
yeah, what I and this is when I say ignorance of sports, I get the whole, I guess it's your divisions and this and that and so forth. I always thought, and I'd say work it back to even college, because college has a billion bowl games, mm-hmm. And it's this ranking and that and this, you know what I mean? And then people get upset, or my team was in it or wasn't it, and and I say I don't know how all that stuff is determined. Right. I'd really like to see the 2 best teams, and just because you're in the championship, just because you're in the championship doesn't mean you are, because right. And forgive me, whoever the Patriots played last week or 2 weeks ago in whatever elimination round, that may have been the 2 best teams in the league. The Patriots eliminated them. Now you're coming up with the 2 best teams, one from each. The best team from each conference.
Right, right. So I'd
like to see it potentially rearranged that way. Legitimately, the 2 best teams are always in it.
You're thinking about like baseball used to be back in the old days, that everybody was in one division, and the 2 top teams played for the World Series, and that was it. And the blowouts that used to happen in the 80s, that's the reason why, because you would have a weak NFC, and you'd have this AFC that was really strong. So you have the Bills, the Dolphins, the Steelers, all these the Raiders at one point. They were all the best teams in football, but they were all in the same conference. So we knock each other out, and then they'd end up playing this weak-ass NFC team and blow them out. And then the other way around, when the 49ers were winning, it was the 49ers and the Cowboys, and and they're all in the same conference.
Yeah.
So they're knocking each other off, and they're playing a weak San Diego Charger team, for example, and blow them out.
Yeah.
So, but I think you did see. I believe that the Patriots were the best team in the AFC, and I believe the Eagles were the best team in the NFC.
Well, I'm not saying they're not the best in their division. If they made it that far, they clearly
you're talking about
are.
NFL-wise, right?
Yeah. That's all I'm saying is I'd like to, potentially make sure that you see the number 1 and the number 2 team, regardless of where they are,
And that's why people often say that the championship games within the conferences are the better games than the Super Bowl, because that's when you're really seeing the 2 best teams in each conference play each other.
Yeah.
Get to the Super Bowl. So you usually get the good games. So you got New England and Jacksonville, which was a good game. And then you had Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Philadelphia did not kick the crap out of Minnesota, but so you never know. You never know. So, but it was a good game, and it's good to see a good game. And, I'm always a fan of the Patriots losing. So,
I've heard that said many times, many ways. Who's your favorite team? In this case, you're going to say Miami and whoever's beating the Patriots.
Whoever plays it. And little factoid that because the Eagles won, this is their first Super Bowl championship. They played in Super Bowls, but they lost the other 2. It's the first. They're the first sound of the Eagles won. The NFC East is the first division in football that every team in it has won a Super Bowl. Little known fact.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Did that pop up on your BuzzFeed, or did you just been tracking that your whole life?
No, I knew that. I mean, it was because that's the old trivia question. It's like, what 4 teams have never played in a Super Bowl? There's 4 of them, and so you can see if you can name them, right?
Oh, I can't.
Yeah. So Jacksonville, Houston, Cleveland, and there's one other.
Oh, poor Cleveland.
Yeah. Yeah, but that goes back into what we were talking about before, that, these are the new Cleveland Browns. The older Cleveland Browns are the Ravens, and they have played in the Super Bowl. So,
yeah.
So you can get picky with that. But, so anyway. But like I said, I had a race yesterday. I was up at 3:00 in the morning yesterday to get to this.
I saw that. I was sound asleep. So, was it that far away? That's how long it took you to travel to get there and so forth? Step me through it, John. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half, and the race started at 6:30, and I wasn't sure. Whenever I'm not sure about where something is, I like to get there early, and I would much rather get up early and get there early and at least know where I'm at than to be last second stuff. So, I got up at 3, and I got out of here at 3:30, and I got there right at 5. Race started at 6:30.
Can I interject and ask some things that sound random, but it's going to get back to, and this is John specific, not necessarily what you'd advise everyone to do, but part of it would be. So using what you just said as an example, do you do anything different nutritionally or breakfast wise on race day versus other days? And or if you normally, John, wake up at, I'm making it up, 6 a.m., breakfast at 6:30, at work by 7:30, we'll say. Since you're up at 3 and traveling, do you stick to the times of I'm going to eat my breakfast, but that would put it right at race start? Or are you trying to eat your stuff on the way but as you're going in? Or did you do anything different? What did you do, and what would you recommend to your athletes if they're doing something like that?
Well, this is going to make
as I say, not as I do.
Right. This is going to make my Megan cringe. I don't eat before I race. I can't because my stomach in the morning, because of nerves and stuff, it'll be nasty. I can't do it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, trail races are a little bit, and like I said, I mean, it's I hate to say it's only a 10K, but it's a 10K. It's going to be over an hour and a half, so it's not that big of a deal. But I just can't handle food in the morning. For some reason, first thing in the morning. And so if I have a race early in the morning, I'll get up and I'll drink water. Like on the way driving, I was drinking water, things like that. But I don't eat before I race. I can't.
Okay.
On trail runs now, but that's what I'm saying is that I think people have to figure that out for themselves. I know from past experience that that's not a good idea for me. That I'm just going to be. I did it before Gasparilla in 2011, and I was hitting that Porta-John like 3 or 4 times before the race even started. It was not good.
Yeah.
So, so ever since then, I kind of shy away from it. I'll drink. Now, if it's a trail run, I always have something like a longer trail run. I'll have something on me, and a good 30 minutes into it, I'm eating something. Once I'm settled in and my body's going, then I'll get hungry and I'll eat something. But
like a banana or a bar or
it's usually
something like that.
Yeah, it's usually like something like a bar or something. It's usually, to be honest, it's usually a oh, no, it just went right out of my head. A Cliff Bar.
Okay.
Like a small one, not the huge ones, but those little bite-sized ones.
Yeah.
You know, I'll stick a couple of those in my pocket, and I always have something on me. Even for the 10K, I had something on me, but I don't usually have to go to it. I usually feel okay. But it ended up being another personal best. So,
congratulations,
Yeah,
sir.
I
This
don't
is
know.
where, like, if we had production value, we would put in some fanfare, like, you know what I mean, trumpets blowing, crowd clapping, yeah, all kind of stuff.
okay, yeah, but we don't have production value. We can't afford that kind of stuff like they do over there at Fatman Chronicles.
I know, right?
We're poor people. Well, I'm poor purpose.
Hey, hey, me too.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
sarcasm, John.
Sarcasm. Speaking of, but the race went great. It was like I felt really good. And the biggest difference, I was telling Jennifer this afterwards, is that the biggest difference I feel is I don't hurt as much after the race anymore. When it used to be, I'd run these, even a 10K or even a 5K, but even a 10K or a half marathon, afterwards my feet would hurt. I could barely walk. The next day I was hurting.
Yeah.
Now I'm fine. I can go out there and run today. You know, that's
And the
biggest difference.
foot issue you got, I'll say solved, maybe not, but you at least have corrected or you're looking at. But yeah, so that was one of the big things. What else are you attributing to the other feeling goods, I should say?
Well, I think it is. It's what it comes down to is what's the most important thing in training.
Sleep.
No.
Nutrition?
That's a good one. No. Consistency. So
that was my next guess.
yeah, so like you're doing really well because you're running almost every day now. Pretty much every day except for one day.
Yep.
And I told you the other day, I said, I couldn't handle you kind of joked about that plan. I said, I don't think I could handle that because
I didn't think I could handle it for the first couple of weeks, but it's obviously setting in. So
yeah, you're settling in. So maybe it's worth a shot. But the key to training, and I think it's just getting better, is to do it consistently. You know, all the time. That you set your training plan, you do your training plan. You don't skip out on, every day of training lost takes you 2 to 3 days to gain that fitness back that you've lost.
right.
So, you just have to stick with it. And I think once that foot issue got taken care of prior to Runner's World in October, that's when you've seen these personal bests start happening. It's like I went to October, I went up to Pennsylvania and had a 21-minute personal best in a 10K.
Yep.
I go to January, I go to Chrome Zoom, and I beat that time by hour and a half, something like that, from last year. And then I go to this 10K, and I 5 minutes faster than I did Runner's World. Now I didn't have the climbs that Runner's World did either. So
I was going to ask you, what was your elevation?
We had
whatever between this one and that one.
I don't know the actual. Well, Pennsylvania was 700-800 feet.
Okay.
So we definitely did not have that yesterday. We had the bridge, going across was the big one. But what I did was, I'd do a run walk, and I stuck with that.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is this Sarasota running? Is that on your? I'm looking at your feed, trying to pull it up.
You're pulling up? Okay, yeah, Sarasota.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to cough in your ear there. Go on.
Yeah, it would have been yesterday's Sarasota running. So
190 feet elevation.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's what I was guessing, like 50, 60 feet each way on the bridge.
Yep.
So what I did was same thing I did in Pennsylvania. I would run, if I was on a run, when I hit the bridge, I would run through where I started to walk again, and then I would do one more set running up the bridge, but then I would walk the rest of the way up.
Yeah.
And I just would walk as fast as I can up the bridge, and then I ran down the bridge, not run, but I ran the whole way down the bridge. And I did that both ways. it worked in Pennsylvania, so I figured, well, that's what I'm going to do here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I felt really good, though. I never felt like I was done, and when I got to around mile 4.5, 5, I looked at my watch and I realized, I'm going to bust an hour 30,
Yeah.
So I started pushing it the last mile. I really started running, just because I want to make sure that I busted an hour 30, because I didn't realize I was that close in Runner's World, or I would have done it too.
Right.
But, yeah, I'd never, and I know busting an hour 30 is really slow to some people, but, for me, it's huge.
But it's your personal best. It's something you've been working at for a long time, and you best be proud of that, John, and take credit for it.
Yeah. So, like you said, what was your comment? Okay, now we got to get that personal best in the half marathon now.
That's it. You got two of them, John, and we can get that one, and then maybe sneak a 26.2 in there. We'll see.
Yeah.
Peer pressure.
Eventually, I do want to do that again, because I've done a full marathon, but it wasn't a fun experience. I could have maintained what I was running yesterday for a while, and if you think, okay, if you do double that for a half marathon, then you're looking at a 3-hour half marathon. I've never busted 3 hours ever. Even when I was the closest I got was 3 hours, 3 minutes. That was my personal best. So, maybe it's possible,
May 6th, we can find out, John.
Yeah, I was talking when we were doing packet pickup. I struck up a conversation with this younger woman there, and she said she was talking about she had done the race last year. And she said it's kind of challenging over the bridge. She goes, I really struggled with it. It was my first half marathon. I struggled with it, and I managed to. I got like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's like, okay, this is where I smack you. That's a good time.
Yeah.
She goes, well, yeah.
For her.
She goes, I said, that's what we call a humble brag. But yeah, she was a nice.
John,
she was a nice.
If all of her training partners, like like I said, my brother-in-law's, brother-in-law, I struggled and I haven't gone under 4 hours in the marathon, and he goes out and he's somewhere in like the 3:30, 3:40 range. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, but he's just that much faster. So that there are people that, if that's your point of reference, if that's the only people you're running with, you feel really slow and sluggish comparably.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can talk about this other thing. Speaking of that,
okay.
I know you listen to Fatman Chronicles.
Yep.
Yeah, as do I. I don't listen to them as quickly as you do.
It's not like you don't sit there and wait and hit refresh.
Right. No, I don't.
Okay.
But I happened to be. I think it was on the way to. Well, no, it was last week. It wasn't SARASOTA. It was last week. Sometime I was listening to it, and Pete was talking about something in the last show that interested me, because I feel the same way, and I think you listened to it, so you'll probably know what I'm talking about. But he was talking to Gretchen about how he trains. He's constantly training, and she is not as into it as he is, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I misspeak, tell me, because my brain, I'm old, so I forget things. But he was saying if he feels like it diminishes his effort. And did I get that right? That's kind of what he was saying, right? That he feels like it diminishes him.
I took it slightly differently.
Okay, tell me, because maybe I just took it wrong.
But what you're saying it correctly. I would just put different terms on it, and I've have people that are the same, and I'm going to go down 2 different roads with it here, okay? Mm-hmm. And that is, like my wife was. I think I shared the story about her doing her first try, and I messed up, and I signed her up for the do, and the run was the only thing she's worried about, and then she found out she had to bike run. Yeah, it was a fantastic time, but she ended up she ended up taking second in her age group.
There you go.
And that's why she literally she walks away with this real sarcastic smartass. She goes, I don't know why you guys say this is so hard, but she said it.
That was it would irritate me to no end if someone said that to me.
But that's my point is she said it with the all, you know what I mean? Literally the other, and here's the point too, is she had went to New York once with her mom, and I guess the parking garage disconnected the battery to the car. Okay. Why? I don't know. Okay. And as such, it shut off the radio, and you had to enter a 5-digit code, right? And we didn't know what it was. We bought the car used. So she tried like a couple different things finally. So they drove home from New York like 4 hours with no radio. So she asked me to go try to see if I could figure it out. So I'm YouTubing, I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever, you know what I mean? And then finally, like, I look in the glove box and somebody had handwritten 5 digits. I'm like, there's no way that's what it is, and boop, 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 enter it, and it worked. And I walked in, and she said, "What did you do?" And I did that, like, I dream a genie, like I folded my arms and blinked my eyes, you know what I mean? I said, "What?" Like, it's one of those, this is so stupid, there's no way I'm gonna luck into this,
Yeah,
and that's how she presented it. She wasn't actually being malicious, and there was no. She wasn't serious in saying, like, I don't understand. This is just so easy. You know what I mean? And so we didn't take it that way. So I'm using her when I say showing up at the race, she didn't train much. She showed up and placed, and did well and placed in her age group. And you know what? That's an accomplishment. That being said, is what I was taking Pete to say is, and I know several people, and I'll just say, whether it's a running race or triathlon, where they don't show up, they don't train at all. Pretty much. And this is kind of how I took what Pete was saying, is they don't train, they just show up and complete it. But that might, you can take offense to it, because anyone can. I have, you know what I mean? You're like, man, I've trained for 7 months to get to this point in order to be able to cross this finish line, and either I got beat by that person, or I only beat them by 10 minutes and they just showed up. You know what I mean? But then that's kind of where I was taking it, is because it sounded like they were discussing like doing a race. I don't know if it was a 5K, 10K, half, whatever. And what I took it as, Pete is doing all this training, really putting in the time and the energy, and it seemed like he thought Gretchen was just gonna just kind of show up and just do it, and that seemed offensive to him.
And he used the word diminishes, which is why I used it as well. Okay, we took it about the same way. That's how I was looking at it. And what it reminded me of, and it's kind of like what the example you just gave, was when I first started working with Children's Services a few years ago. We had just hired somebody. He ended up being a really good friend of mine. But we were talking about it, and I was talking about he heard that I do all these triathlons and stuff, and I think we were training for Fletcher Flyer. It was a century ride in North Carolina at that time, and he said, "How long is it?" And I said 50 miles in North Carolina. He goes, "Yeah, I could probably do that."
Yep.
I said, "Really?" Mm-hmm. I said, and I told him later, I said, that was like one of the most offensive things you could have said to me, because I worked my ass off to do that things. And you're just assuming because I'm heavy that if I can do it, you could probably just go out there and do it and don't have to train for it.
Right.
And of course he didn't mean it like that, but truth be told, he probably could do it because he's in shape, but yeah. And I got what Pete was saying. Is that when you're out there and you're putting in the time, and someone doesn't, I guess, take it as seriously as you do, or is able to kind of phone it in and still go out there and perform well, it feels like it feels kind of diminishing your effort. Yeah. So I kind of got what he was saying.
I get that, and that too. And making up times, just putting arbitrary numbers to them, that'd be like somebody really training hard, and doing the 5K in 28 minutes. The next person who, it's their first one, they do it in 29, and the another person that does it in 59. You know what I mean? Right. You have one person who trained really hard to go sub 30, somebody who maybe their first one and they have the natural ability, and also somebody then who's just about breaking the hour, and or just breaks an hour on it, and they all get the same shirt. You medal if it's participation, you know what I mean? And, I could see, I've been there. I should say it that way. I've been there. I've been that person that's been bothered by it. And that's where then I really sit down and just kind of take a deep breath and shrug it off personally, because, hey, it's, this is my race. This is my experience, because I'm sure that there are people too. But granted, I know I've put in my effort, my training to make it the best I can. But, once again, I haven't cracked 4 hours in the marathon, and there are people out there that are going 2.5, 3, and they're probably sitting there would they take offense to me, not being able to do the race as fast as they are?
Yeah, I think as you grow in the sport, after you get started, like you said, I'm the same way. As I'm past the point of really being offended by it, because I've gotten to the point where I understand that, this is about me. It's not about them. I've told the story about the guy that I used to see at Crystal River all the time that was heavier than me, and I knew that I worked out more, and he would go out there and beat me.
Yeah.
And it would really bother me. But, now it's like even Saturday or Sunday when I was running, there were guys out there bigger than me. There were women out there bigger than me that were beating me. There was one I was targeting, it's like I'm going to catch her before the end, and I couldn't catch her.
Yeah.
And she probably weighed what I do.
And let's be clear, you weren't targeting her because you're egotistical and have to beat a woman. It's another race competitor, and that's who you're going after.
Right. It's a way of racing. It's actually taught to me by my first coach is that you find somebody ahead of you, and that's your target. You're going to catch them. Yeah. It's not because of their size or anything. You're just finding somebody. Okay, I'm about what they are. Let me see if I can catch them.
Yep.
I'm not going to look at you on a race and think I'm going to catch you.
You could.
I know I'm not going to be able to. You got at least 5-6 minute pace on me, so, or 4 or 5, so I know I'm not going to catch you, but if I can tell somebody's running about my pace, maybe I can catch them. So, it's just a way of doing it. I do it on the bike too, not so much on the swim because you can't really see people, but it's just a way. Jennifer used to do it all the time. We actually used to use it as a training technique. If we were doing loops at Flatwoods, someone would fly by us, and I would tell Jennifer, I said, go get him, catch him, things like, just to see if we can do it, So, but let me say the current team and training that I'm on. We have a guy on there it's his first triathlon. He's in shape, he runs, cancer survivor, and first time ever on a bike. We go out for a bike training a couple weeks ago. First time he's ever been on a bike, in this way. You can ride a bike, but I mean like a training bike like this.
Okay.
Just bought his bike. First time on the bike, he fell when he was buying the bike. So he comes, I make it to the halfway point and I'm turning around and he comes flying by me. And he doesn't even look like he's working hard. Mm-hmm. So I catch up to him. He's doing 18, 19 miles an hour. Yeah. And he's not even pushing. And it's like, okay, there you go. Right. And he's doing it again. Now, he had never really swam before. Now he's doing 2,000 yards in the pool session where, when we first started, I was the one putting in all the yards. Yeah. Because I was used to it. But I looked at his, we were having a bite afterwards, the swim last week. And I'm looking at when he posted, I said, did you really do 2,000 yards? He goes, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I don't know. I did X amount. Is that what it adds up to? Yep. Okay.
I said, well, do you take breaks or you just swim? He goes, I get in the water and I just keep swimming.
Yeah.
Well, okay. There you go. He's going to do really well. He's got a podium finisher in his blood for triathlons. He's going to do really well. So I just want to put it out there, when I heard, if you guys don't listen to, the other listeners, listen to Pete's show, Fatman Chronicles. It's a good show. I mean, it's not really a training show like we are. It's more of I call it a lifestyle show. Yep. Because they have they talk about wine. They talk about, stupid, ridiculous reality TV. I'm sorry, Gretchen.
Like the views from the couch, John.
And you know what? It's fine. But
you know what? I'm sorry. I
have no interest.
I shared this with him the other week, and I'm curious if it would ever make it onto his show, and it hasn't. Have you watched and I have not, NBC, ABC, I'm not sure which one, the TV show Blind Spot?
No.
The one with the girls with all the tattoos?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it still on?
I don't know that answer. I know this, though, because I shared it with Pete the other day. Anyone out there listening, play along. The tattoos, and I had heard it, and I haven't seen the show, reference the town I live in.
Really?
Because if you Google, and you can go put it out there right now, I think the main character's name is Kurt Sutter, FBI. Yeah. Put in Kurt Sutter and go to the fake. When I say the fake, there's a Wikipedia page for him, like they do with all these people. His hometown is Clearfield, Pennsylvania. Yeah, he's the one that was in the sequel to 300 as well. Have to take your word for it. Don't know. Saw it.
Rise of a Nation. 300 Rise of a Nation.
So if you go if you look at his character was born and raised in Clearfield, Pennsylvania.
Very cool. You're claiming fame, right?
One of them, yeah. So now we got burgers, guns, and fake TV shows.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a lifestyle show. They do talk a lot about, but it has a place, right? You know, it's like I like their dynamics, how they talk. You know.
Do you want me to giggle and talk about wine with you, John? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't. Well, I don't drink, so I have no idea what they're talking about when they're talking about wine. So. Anyway, speaking of drinking, that was a really cool segue.
I don't know where we're going with this. I'm curious, John.
Speaking of drinking, I pulled out an article. Well, actually, I first saw it, speaking of the Super Bowl, in the TB12 book, Tom Brady's workout book, because the Tom Brady method, I guess. Saw it in the bookstore, pulled it out, saw this mentioned. So I got to look into this, you know. So I started looking out for, start looking for the science behind this, or is this just one of those things? And actually, there's some science behind this, that apparently drinking any kind of fluid, water, or anything while you're eating dinner or while you're eating at all diminishes your mineral and vitamin uptake, and that you should not drink while you're eating.
What's the science behind that? Because I've heard that exactly opposite.
Yeah,
but
so have I.
When I say like bro science, I could make an argument either way, but not, it's just me guessing. So what are you reading is the reason behind it?
The reason, I wish I had it in front of me or I would tell you, but the reason behind it is that when you drink water while you're eating, that it doesn't allow the food to stay in your system long enough for it to absorb the nutrients it needs. It pushes it through too fast.
Okay, so basically it waters it down.
It waters it down and moves it through your system faster.
Okay.
So what the method is, at least in the TB12 book, was you should drink water an hour to 2 hours before you eat, and then not drink again until at least an hour after you're done eating, to allow for the uptake to happen, the digestion to happen correctly. I just found that very interesting.
Yeah,
because like you, I've always heard the exact opposite. You know?
But then again, 90% of what we've heard, when I say common knowledge, which just because it's common knowledge doesn't mean it's right, what has always been drink while you're eating, and obviously it's because it takes up the space in your stomach, and therefore you're eating less. You know, that goes back to the old CICO stuff. So
yeah, it's the same basic point with putting heavy cream in your coffee, because it kind of acts like it fills you up.
Yeah,
it doesn't allow you to get hungry. Speaking of that, even is that I've noticed that, I don't know if it's a reaction or an allergic reaction, but when I'm in the morning now, when I use heavy cream in coffee, I'm stuffing up. I'm getting like very phlegmy.
I mean, part of what, and I'll just say Vinny and Anna, if you remember going way back in their history, their catalog, Anna but she had said she did have a mild allergic reaction, if you will, whatever, inflammatory response to dairy, and says you might have to. And that being said, is if you're cutting it out in quantity and now you're putting it back in isolated, like you're saying, one point in time, you see, A equals B. I don't know if there's a way other than stopping and seeing if it clears up. If it is, maybe it's just coincidental and it's this time of year, or if you want to go and be tested for that. But that is quite a possibility that you are having a reaction to it.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody after the race Saturday, and she was telling me that she had cut out dairy, and all dairy, because she was having she was telling me about it, and she said every time I would eat it, I would have like these sinus things. My whole head would just fill up. And when I went to the allergist, I went to the doctor, and they said, well, let's start here. Let's cut out dairy for 2 weeks, all dairy, and see what happens.
Yeah.
And she cut out all dairy, and it went away. So, but I was telling her, I said, I get that too. I always feel like there's something. I have throat damage anyway, but it always feels like something's in the back of my throat. And when I drink milk, it gets worse. Or any kind of dairy, it gets worse. It's always like I'm always like, coughing, feeling like I have to cough.
Right.
She goes, well, maybe you ought to cut out the dairy.
Have you tried it, John?
As I'm sitting there drinking my iced coffee with heavy cream. She goes, maybe you ought to stop drinking that. So, yeah, I guess I have to, I did when on the way home last night, I stopped at Starbucks because I have to, it's a rule. And I got an iced coffee, just plain iced coffee, no heavy cream and no sweetener, just plain black heavy iced coffee. They always look at you weird when you order that too. Have you ever tried that?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I mean when you order something like that, they look at you and they like, no, nothing in it, just black. Yeah. Remember Vinny used to talk about that when he said when it first started, he would say put heavy cream in it. And
yes.
The reactions he would get back then, and now everybody drinks it like that. Is it's funny how people come around, I guess.
What I found, I guess, what stands out, and I just never, I guess, understood it. And that being said, is like the heavy cream, I can get that in coffee, or black. I don't get any weird change just with that. Like you're saying, iced, hot, whatever. But I say it this way: every single time I go to Starbucks, last year and a half, I should say, it's, hey, can I have a decaf? And they're like, well, that's on pour over. I'm like, yeah, okay. The first couple times, I'm like, oh, I don't understand why, but that's just how they do it. They don't keep decaf in the thing, which I get. They would sell a lot more regular coffee, but like 8:39 at night, you think they might have some of it around, what I mean? But then, like I said, they get really like offended and like defensive, like, well, that's on pour over. That's going to take a few minutes. And especially because more than once now I've ordered it, and then you've been standing there and 5, 10, 15 minutes go by, and I go back up and I'm, excuse me, I haven't got my coffee yet. Well, what did you have? Well, that's on pour over. Did you know? I'm like, yeah. And then I could see it sitting on the counter. Somebody made it and then forgot about it,
Yeah. That's always fun, right?
Yeah.
When you see it sitting there and nobody's just, can you just hand that to me?
Excuse me.
Yeah. Starbucks, you can't get iced decaf. You have to order it, I think a decaf Americano over ice.
Somebody might have offered me that once. I'm trying to remember now. That might have been exactly what I tried to order. And then my wife looked at me and she said, like, and I actually knew because I worked in a coffee shop for a little bit. And I'm like, no, that's not what I want. She's like, well, what is it? I'm like, it's basically take espresso and dump water in it. And she's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, it's not the same flavor. So
yeah, it's not the same thing. Well, but everybody knows it's going to be kind of a short show tonight.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to interject two things because one is it's FBI Kurt Weller, not Kurt Sutter. I think Kurt Sutter might be the guy from Sons of Anarchy now that I'm thinking about it, if I'm correct. So anyways, Kurt Weller, if anybody wants to play along and Google it. And I'll answer the question that John didn't ask me, and I said, hey, John, how's your race? How's your weekend? John, my training this weekend it was so amazing that I don't know if you deserve the details of it at this point. So
I was actually just about to ask you how the training was going. So I know how your training is going.
What's that?
I know how your training's going.
Yeah, you're sitting there analyzing the data. So Friday night, I go out for John has a 6-mile run on my calendar, and I looked at the plan, and it said 8. So I went out for 8 miles on Friday night.
You thought I was wrong.
And I got stuck on the wrong side of the river, so 8 turned into 9.3. And then John says, you did an extra 5K for blanks and giggles, and I said, no, it's supposed to be 8, not 6. Well, I found out that the book, the training plan, same training plans, Hanson's, they have it on their website and they have it in the book. And there are 8 differences between the online version and the book. Most of them are the interval runs, but also like they switch 2 days. Like later on, there's an 8-mile run and a 10-mile run back to back, like Friday, Saturday. Yep. One plan has 8 then 10. One plan has 10 then 8. Anyway, and then also this one was 6 in the book, 8 online. So I kind of like did an extra half of the workout Friday night. Saturday I got what was it, just a regular run? I guess I got it in. And Sunday was I sent you the forecast, and it was just, like calling for snow. It was currently snowing. I went out and cleaned like 3 or 5 inches off my driveway, and it's just one of those. The forecast just calls for like 100% chance of snow, varying, 180, 50, 100. It just keeps going up and down through the entire day. So I figured I'll go out, and I figured I'd be a tough guy, and I wasn't going to do a treadmill, and I didn't want my feet to necessarily get wet as in, like running on the roads where they had salted, because it's just going to be slush, right. And that would get old really quick, and legs get wet. But running through the snow, you're going to get wet anyways, just slightly different. So I ran out the rail trail. I ran out this one road, and that road leads to a dirt road that kind of circles back in on the upper end of the rail trail, and then I ran 5 or some miles back in. So Sunday was a 12-miler, and 12 miles in the snow, it's tough. I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot. Like, just, most of the roads had, like I said, 2-3 inches on them, because I'm going to use air quotes, they cleared them. There wasn't. I sent some photos and put them online. It was bad. I'm just kind of guessing where the road is based on the guardrails at this point, and just running. But that being said, just that little bit of extra friction, like the rest of yesterday, Sunday, I was just exhausted. I just couldn't. When I say I couldn't keep it together, I couldn't stay up. That's what you said about. I was talking earlier in the show about the Super Bowl. Couldn't stay up. I was just completely wiped out from that. It didn't help either, though, that as I was running, like I said, I was keeping it. When I say an okay pace, I was supposed to do like a 9:15, I think, is my long run pace, and the whole thing ended up being about a 10-minute, maybe 10-15 mile. Added about a minute per mile, and that's just literally all the faster I can go on the roads in the snow without risking falling, because at 3/4 of a mile in, I'm chugging right along, and it looked like the cartoon where my feet went out from under me. Like, I came down like on my shoulders, like I spun completely upside down with shoulders and my right elbow, and like right now I have a hard time just straightening my arm out. It hurts so bad. So
you need to be more careful, right?
Well, the right arm hurts. My left leg, 'cause I cracked it off the bed. I have this huge bruise, like, size of an orange on my leg too. So I'm getting a little bit beat up, Sean. And I got to say, it's wearing pretty thin. So
Are you sure it was the run, or are you being a sass mouth again and getting, taken to task?
I'm not. I have no intention on you.
I know you have a sass mouth.
I thought you was sarcastic, something about my wife whooping me around, but
that's what I was. Oh, okay. You were being sass. Okay. You were sassing her.
Yeah, I have several jokes we can interject here, but none are family friendly, so we're not going to.
Stop being sass.
Just sassing her. Just Google it, folks. There's a lot of stuff that'll come up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, training is going really good. A lot of them are feeling really. I feel really good after most of them. Yeah. I am not looking forward to the interval run tomorrow whatsoever. Like, you get your ones that are like, oh, they're short and quick, and then they kind of build. So they almost start with like a 400 on, 400 off, and then it goes to like then the next time it's 600, then 400 off, then 800. And tomorrow is a really long. I think it's like a 1200. So it's like a 3/4 mile interval.
Yeah.
And that's a long time for me to try to hold a quote sprinting pace. It'll be interesting, though. I mean, I'll get through it, because obviously then as the intervals get longer, the amount of intervals get lesser. Instead of you start with like 4, 12 400s, and then it goes like 12, 10, 8, and whatever intervals or increments goes down in. So tomorrow is, it's not like I'm doing 12 1200s. The whole workout ends up coming in somewhere around 7-8 miles or so. So
7 miles.
Yeah,
just a little bit under, maybe 200ths of a mile under, but yeah. I'm looking at it right now just to make sure. But yeah, you got 1,200 meters at 9 and recovery of 400.
Yay!
Yeah, that's a sprint. Yeah, that's hard. 5 to 10K pace. Yeah, so that's sprinting.
That's yep. So. It's tough, but as we're all playing along, as you can see, it's like I said, I'm knock on wood at this point, injury free, feeling good. My times are getting better and better. Like I said, at some point I said I hate to jinx it, but my easy runs are feeling easy. My long runs are good. You know what I mean? Like yesterday wiped me out, but I believe it was more the snow conditions than the run, because the rest of them I've come off of them feeling good. So I recommend it.
Yeah, I'm looking at your Sunday one again because I wanted to see something. But so even if you're saying it was, obviously it was a hard run because it was a little slower pace than you usually do, but your pace to heart rate was like a negative 1%. It's almost right on target.
Yeah,
So,
my heart rate was where it should be. Like I said, it wasn't.
Absolutely.
It wasn't. I don't want to say it wasn't physically taxing, because obviously I'm admitting it was. But everything felt good. It's just uniformly. And I'm pointing head to toe, like as if anyone could see that, tired overall. And to the point too, oddly, first time I've had this after a run, like yesterday I'm sitting there and like if I lay on the floor and like try to pick my head up, like my neck muscles, but on the front, like what connects like my chin to like my pec area, even them are sore. I mean, just head to toe.
Yeah, it's just your body's being racked. Yeah. Well, I would liken it maybe to running on the beach, soft sand.
Yep.
Your just whole body is going to be racked. It's not just your legs now. It's your whole body trying to stay in. Your core is engaged for sure. Now you're trying to balance your legs are getting heavier because they're filling up with sand or filling up with snow or getting wet, and it's just gonna get worse and worse.
Yep.
So I mean, but we're coming into February. You should be lightening up here in about a month, right?
Training wise?
No.
It gets a lot harder.
No, it gets a lot harder. Yeah, you're coming into it, but I mean, the weather wise,
hit or miss.
It becomes right. It's not constant snow, at least, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, well, it'll pay off in the end, though.
We're hoping for a PR.
You come in under that 4 or under 3, you're gonna be happy.
Under 3? No, under 4. I do not.
See, I place that bar high, man.
That's it. I'm gonna go from barely finishing to BQ.
Yeah.
Okay, John.
Yeah. Of course you can.
I'd take it, but I know my limitations.
All right. So, like I said before, this is a little bit shorter. It's not that much shorter. It's 15 minutes shorter than our normal show because we got started a little bit late today. Had some scheduling issues. But Rob is going to have an interview this weekend. So we're going to have a good show coming up. Another Bozovich file.
We're accumulating those in mass quantities, aren't we?
We are, but they're good. And people tend to like them. So
yeah, might have two. We'll see. We'll
might have two. Right.
We will see how that goes, and we'll go from there.
So like we always say, visit the show, visit the Facebook group, visit Twitter, visit Instagram, go to Tumblr and look up for teamE4E, and we'll be there. And kind of join in the group. Leave us comments and leave us comments on the podcast. Leave us questions on the Facebook groups, or email us at teamE4E@enduranceforeveryone.com, and we'll make sure that we get to your questions. I think we're pretty good at answering questions when we get them.
Yep.
Sometimes it takes people a while to comment on some of our show topics. I mean, I don't want to get into it now, but something I had mentioned last week finally got started talking about today. I was wondering why I didn't get any comments before when I was talking about the differences in genders.
Oh, okay. I haven't been on Facebook, and I don't know if you watched This Is Us, but I do, and that was on last night, and so I've stayed off of Facebook all day only because I don't want to find anything that I don't want to
know.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, let me tell you what happened.
Thanks, Sean.
There was a fire. That's all I know. So, and if you're in need of coaching, we're going to have a more professional looking coaching thing, but if you need coaching, hit us up and we can set you up with that as well. So anything more, Robert?
That's all I have.
All right. So
JC.
JC. That's what they know me by in the Navy, I don't think a lot of people in the Navy know my name is John.
It's shorter.
All right. Well, so until next week, we will see you later.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Endurance for Everyone podcast. If you have comments or questions for the show, send an email to teamE4E at enduranceforeveryone.com. And remember, swim calm, bike strong, and run steady.